Today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show on the sunniest and hottest day of the year. And I welcome my two co-hosts. On the top, it is Andrew Marr.
No shoot.
And below in the picture, it is Jonathan Sullivan.
Good evening.
How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad. Sweltering in the heat. It's hit 18 degrees Celsius in Northumberland today, so that's about the hottest day on record, I think. So absolutely extraordinary.
Wow.
It was 26 up here. It's been
Really
hot.
It might be a bit warmer than 18, but it certainly wasn't as hot as it is down south. I think Brixton was about 500 degrees Celsius last night, wasn't it? Something like that.
Vaporized, is it?
Exactly. Yeah,
If I read such things, I know as a fact that the Express would be saying we're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
Everyone's going to die of heat stroke. And if it gets cold next week, everyone's going to die of the cold. And if it gets normal and rains a lot, we're all going to drown. It's kind of the standard thing, isn't it, with the Express? I've just noticed that over the years when you see it. Heat stroke, millions are going to die, especially if you're old or young or middle-aged.
Apparently, when any newspaper puts a question mark at the end of their headline, the answer is always no.
We're all going to die. And the answer to that question is, well, yes, because none of us are actually immortal. So no one said when. Got to be specific.
They were saying there was a major incident
another one.
Was it Brighton or somewhere, or Dorset? I don't know what happened, but they said too many people had arrived at one of the beaches in Dorset. And there was colossal queues everywhere. The car park
coughing on each other.
And there's millions of them. They're all on the beach. So it was quite funny, the picture that they put. I was on Facebook of a big fat woman wearing a kind of very skinny bikini, which all you saw was two buttocks.
That sounds horrendous. There's the Daily Mail. Whatever the story is, they managed to get some skimpy girl in it. It's like, it's a warm day today, and you have 47 images of girls, basically.
Unless it's Formula One, in which case you're not allowed.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well,
I like your phrase earlier, John. Formula woke. I thought
Formula woke. Yeah, exactly. We've made a new sport, Formula woke. The first one
is Formula W. This now means something else.
Exactly.
Call it a Formula One show tonight, and I did put it in the description. It has Formula One gone crazy, and has it finally gone kind of over the top? Because that's all the headlines have pretty much been. It's all about this new commission in Formula One. Well, the thing is, they're giving it that headline, but when you actually look at what they're doing, it's to thank all the key workers regarding coronavirus and all this kind of stuff, and then it goes on to the kind of diversity thing. So I thought that would be quite a good topic to talk about and to see exactly what's happening.
Oh no, not again. We went on for hours last time. Lewis Hamburger, who's got his commission, with his own money and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, all right, okay. It's the same as me. Years ago, I was in BAYS, which is the British Academy of Young Scientists. I never actually went around schools, but you promote science to people. You want them to get into science. Mm-hmm. Anybody, whatever, get into science, do some science, even though the government doesn't pay for any of that kind of stuff anymore, and they just expect it to just happen like by magic. Apparently, you don't need money, so don't invest in it, but fine, whatever, go to schools and get people into it. I did wonder if anyone who was white said that they were inspired to do engineering because of Lewis Hamilton, whether he would be really upset. I don't know whether that would be a thing. I sound terrible saying stuff like that, but I'm just sick and tired of the hypocrisy. They're still going to Bahrain, they're still going to Abu Dhabi, they're still going to Qatar, as John mentioned, they're still going to Russia. People are being beaten up in the streets for being different. And it's like, they don't mind. They go to China, where they're mass murdering all the Uyghurs just because they're not Mandarin Chinese and replacing everyone in that region because they're Muslims. And that's fine. We can do that. That's all right, because they've got lots of money and they're very powerful, But no, as soon as anything in the West.
Well, I've got an interesting story as well about that, because there was a big story about NASCAR and how the only black driver in NASCAR found a noose in his garage, in the pit garage. Now, there was a big political storm all about it, but I will share the screen and let you see the exact story. Here we are. And the FBI were brought in because it was so bad that they had a big do for it because everyone was so appalled that they pushed this chap's Bubba Wallace's car down the pit lane as a kind of moment of, to make sure he was fine.
Solidarity.
Solidarity. But they actually found that no crime had been committed, and the noose had actually been in place since 2019.
Oh, so it wasn't a deliberate recent act; it was just there, and they'd assumed.
Yeah, every garage has them. It was part of the garage door's pull-down rope, which had been fashioned in a way that resembled a noose. So NASCAR has now released an image of the noose.
It's not a noose at all.
Yeah, it's a
okay.
Yeah. So the officials asked operators of each circuit to inspect their garages, and after checking all the stalls across 29 venues, found 11 had pull-down ropes, but the only noose was in the garage used by Wallace. But it's obviously just a rope, though. So they all had ropes, but then this one must have been tied because it was longer than the other. So it's all a big fuss about nothing. So there you have it.
The problem is with America is that there are places in America it really is that bad, all the time. And then the assumption is everywhere else in the world's the same.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah.
William Wilberforce, every bank in Britain, a traditional bank in Britain, is guilty of being set up on the slave trade. Every take Lyle, and there's huge things going on like that, and they cherry pick what they want to have a go at, and then try and make out that Britain's this massive racist nation. And if you actually look at what's happened in the past 50 years, the inclusion.
Yeah.
Are we? I thought we were world renowned for being accepting. I mean, I'm not saying there's not some bloody idiots, because there are. I grew up with a lot of them. But there's also a huge number of people who don't care.
No, I think
it's just people.
Very welcoming. Yeah.
We're incredibly welcoming. We're not going around shooting people like they do in America. Quite the opposite.
But yeah, well, on that nice note, I'll pivot, and we will talk about.
I have a question about Assetto Corsa, though.
Yes,
have you learnt
to
wave your hands around and shout at people? Hey, you've got to do that. Otherwise, you can't do it properly because it sounds Italian.
To all our viewers and listeners, now obviously to people who are listening, it's not going to be much use, but because you can't see the game as it actually happens. But if you watch YouTube, it's absolutely fine. So I suggest that once you've heard the podcast, you can watch the actual video itself on YouTube and for the clip. But yes, I have got Assetto Corsa competition there, and I'm going to try and stream it now because I've been taught a way of how to do it. So over the coming days, I will get that set up. I do have, as you can see in the background, I've got my my tripod there. So a bit later on, I'll put the camera up, and at least it is placed to see the screen quite well. And my co-hosts are going to attempt at commentating. If it doesn't work, it's their fault. So if they're not putting enough enthusiasm into it. So so it was. But I can always try Gran Turismo if that's easier.
It'll be just as hard to commentate on. Duh.
Yeah, but it's easier to maybe race with. I've not done a race at all.
Why do we care about that? You're the one doing the racing.
But it's.
All about you, isn't it?
The funny thing was, the first time I tried it, I pressed the accelerator and nothing happened because it wasn't set. It was set for normal controllers instead of for a steering wheel.
Mate, that's been happening in every single virtual race we've watched. The lights go out. 10 seconds later, people start slowly moving away. It's almost like watching my ex-grandfather-in-law.
So yeah, but it is a really good game, and I can't wait to show you what it's like. And hopefully now that it's a wee bit darker, I might have to play around with the lights and see if I can get it to work. But you should be able to see it quite clearly, hopefully. The detail is really, really good, and it's a proper simulator. So it's well worth getting, because this launched a couple of days ago, but I think that the reception has been pretty decent. So in a little while. Now, I was actually watching my good friend and regular visitor to the show, Josh Martin, last night, and he came third in one of it was the big race at Spa, which was a 60-minute race, and he started, I think it was maybe 4th or 5th, and finished 3rd, and that was his best result so far, which has been pretty good. And he actually won the championship. He was ahead on points, so that finish allowed him to take the title. So he's very good.
Is he officially a world champion now?
Well, I did put that in the comment when I was commenting, but he didn't come back to me to see if he was or not.
He's too busy celebrating. He's above you, mate. We won't talk to you now. That's it.
But he is a champion on that. So if you're watching tonight, thanks, Josh. It was great fun watching the race. And he's a very big supporter of the show, even when we probably talk about things that we should never talk about on a Formula One show. But we'll leave it at that. So if you're watching on Facebook, on my Facebook page, unless we can't see your comments, so you'd have to go to YouTube to be able to comment on it and see how we're getting on. But I haven't seen Ant yet. He's normally one of our loyal supporters.
No, he was going to be joining us.
Maybe he'll come in a minute. But yes, so that's the thing. Should I? While you two can talk, well, should I try and get this set up and see if we can get it working?
Here we go.
Jonathan will talk, and I'll do belittling comments. How's that?
I think you should do
comments too, but I'll get fired, so I'll just do it.
Well, actually, I've got a better idea. You know that time when we were doing FSO comments but typing? If we could do a verbal version of that, I think that'd be excellent. You don't need to say what's going on in the race because people, it won't matter.
I will leave you
no one can see it.
My two co-hosts. To keep it all going, and then we will sort all this out. But I've got it set up before, so hopefully.
This is Hugh becoming. This is well, see other bits of Hugh's office now. So his lair. Look at this. It's all set up. A Lamborghini, by the look of it, on the starting grid.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I see.
There we go.
What you need is a big mirror on the wall behind you, and then you don't have to do all that.
Exactly, and then you'd be first in the grid.
There's a big arse on that.
Is that better? The only problem is
we can see it well.
There is a slight kind of glare, and I don't know why that is. But
nobody cares. Get on with it. Stop making excuses.
All right. Yeah.
This is your F1 tyre excuses. My tyres wore out. I didn't warm them up properly. There's a glare on the screen
already.
It's not a glare for me, but I was more thinking it's a glare.
Whatever. Get on with it.
It's fine. We can see. It's all good.
I'm not getting any younger, you know.
Let's go. Let's go racing.
Right. Okay. Well, I've never raced in this before, but it's good you can hear me. It's all
you just said you had. You just said it was the realistic.
Yes, I've done the practice. I haven't done.
Oh, there we go. Apart from racing it before, you've never raced it before.
Well, there's no comments on Facebook yet.
All right, now I need to do a race. Let's do a race. Come on, let's see what we can do.
Do a race.
On the hot lap.
Do it in Alfa Romeo so that John can say how rubbish it is.
Well, I just wish he'd buy one because he raves about Alfa Romeos, but he's never ever owned one.
Yeah. I mean, if I had the money to not worry about getting the electrics fixed of a classic version, I would have one like that.
Here's the thing.
If I could get a proper manual gearbox in the Quadrifoglio.
Oh, is that flappy paddle?
It's in Italy, left-hand drive, you can get both.
Can you really? You get a manual?
But right-hand drive, you can only get
flappy
lappy paddle, which Chris Harris likes, but I don't.
No, not really, because also you can't use the indicators with the flappy paddle gearbox. If the indicators, honestly, it's a complete disaster zone. You're sort of in reverse, you're indicating right, you're indicating left, you're changing up, you're changing down.
Exactly.
That's a chosen stone track. This is it.
I've got them on aggression 90%. And ability 90%.
And it's that Italian aggression. So I mean that's pretty
waving your hands. That wasn't really Italian, was it?
It was cultural appropriation, Roo. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that anymore.
Hey, well, I don't care.
No, can I do the setup?
Oh, GT, I like them.
Aggressive. Potentially faster lap times than going on.
What is that rubbish in the background there? They're so fussy.
I don't know any of that is.
What happened to clean lines? What happened to the E-Type Jag being the most beautiful car in the world? Nice clean lines. Now
There he is. He's in the car.
get out and bend.
Have you got a different view? Can we see a different view?
Yes, hang on.
I can't see much of the track there. That's better. That's a bit better. Yeah.
Oh, and he's away. He nearly loses the back end as he powers down to wherever the hell he is. Where
Is this the warm-up lap?
Well, it's a kind of.
Are you in the lead?
I don't. It's like they don't start under red lights. You know they
rolling start.
So,
Are we in the pit lane?
no, you're on the old track. You know the old start bit.
Oh, right. Here we go. We're off then. Hughes in the lead. He's in 4th place. He's in 5th place.
No, that's the gear I'm in.
Oh, sorry.
Should there be all these cars in front of him if that was a...
He's in 3rd place. He's going up the field. Amazing. He's still in 3rd place. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, he's down to 4th. But
Sounds like a V10 FSO.
He's down to 5th place. He makes 6th place.
Oh, he's blown the engine up.
Oh dear, 5th place, 4th place. He's up the field. 3rd place. 4th place.
What track is this? Is this Silverstone? Is that the wing I can see there?
It is.
Yes. So, now he's
German. That is a big rear wing.
So I'm guessing it's a Lamborghini, which has been overtaken.
Here we go. We've got the slipstream. It's a hat-trick maneuver.
Oh, yes.
Ah! Go on, get ahead.
Dirty
Oh,
Scotsman.
There you go.
Who do you think you are? George Russell?
There we go. Which place are we in now? We're down the back of the field where George Russell normally is.
Good last. No, he won. He won it all. He's the champion.
Yeah, in
real life. Or that.
IRL. Do you remember that when we had IRL?
Earl. That was a TV show, wasn't it? My name is Earl.
My name is Earl. Here we come, coming through the field.
Literally, you can't ghost in this one, pal. You put it around and not through it.
He's got the line.
No, that's on we didn't.
I think.
Understeering. That four-wheel drive's not helping you there.
Can you see it all right, or is the camera too...
We can see plenty. We can see you messing up all the corners fine. No problem.
That's it. We saw you go into the gravel and all the cars overtake you, Hugh. Here we go. Oh, it's the back of a Ferrari.
What is this? British touring cars?
Oh,
Janetta Juniors.
Oh, I've received a penalty or something, I think.
I'm not.
Really?
You just drove into the back of a Ferrari at 150 miles an hour.
Not a Ferrari.
I thought it was a 458 or a 499 or something. I may have been wrong.
It looked like a lime sucky sweets to me. You know, like a lime sherbet with wheels.
Oh, a Lamborghini.
I've got to drive a clean lap.
I wonder what colour I'd have if I had a Lamborghini. I think I'd go for that green that you can see in the middle, at the bottom of his screen. That.
Oh, a lime green.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for the orange, which is, or the yellow, which is. Definitely go for that. Yeah, that colour.
I think you're better off. Is that a Ferrari ahead, Hugh?
Yeah.
It is a Ferrari.
The Pirelli that I've just written off his car.
Take advantage of the fact that it's got a rubbish gearbox according to the Fruccio Lamborghini.
A gearbox from his track. Oh, that's a bit. Whoa!
You would understeer. You have. You weren't last, but you are now.
We thought he was last.
That's the FSO going past you.
He'd been lapped.
Oh, it could be, yeah.
Although lapped on lap 3 wouldn't be very good.
See, you should be at Monza where there are lots of Italians shouting at you. They're not doing good enough.
It is David Pirelli in front of me.
It is, David. You just smashed into
his car. In the Ferrari,
so are you playing online then? Are you actually online?
No, it uses all the people from the actual series, you see.
Oh, I see. Well, carry on, David. Are you listening? You're not even there, are you?
There we go.
Comments.
It is good, though. It's hard work. I mean, it takes a lot.
It's hard work watching it.
This must be really good for the people listening on the podcast. It must be pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and he's now going down a road.
Down the road.
Going down the road. Turning a little bit to the left. Little bit to the right. Going down the road. Third gear corner. Well, it is for him. Second gear corner. Well, again for him. Third for everybody else because they're going faster. Are we putting you off yet? Just
what did you expect?
I'm going to overtake a car in this bit.
You're not even catching them up.
Just drive into the back of them. That doesn't count.
This is woke overtaking, isn't it? Where them overtaking you means you've succeeded.
It's Formula Woke. You are a white male. You go to the back of the grid. It's like Monopoly with cars.
Oh, there he is. Ant's here. Hello, Ant. So, that dodgy move you made at the beginning has obviously damaged your car. Come on, let's get the F1 excuses in. It damaged your car and it's screwed your front tyre. And you've got oil burning in your bum and something.
I think cylinder number 9 is running hot. You have to back off a bit.
What he said.
Yeah. I've got the telemetry here.
Oh, good.
Box.
What did the telemetry say?
The telemetry says that he isn't going fast enough.
So let's try the.
Yes.
Oh! How come the blue one did? No, it did. Okay. Oh, 2 blue ones are going past him.
What does that red flag mean?
I don't know. Is it the one with the
car there? Right, there's a car alongside you. Well, swerve right.
What does that black flag mean?
Yeah, what exactly? What does the black flag with your car number on it mean? I don't think you know, actually.
I almost had 2 there.
To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left.
Is that a Jaguar?
It's a Jaguar XK8.
Ooh.
Which was not a car I realised was in GT racing.
Well, I suppose
you've overtaken it. Well done. Let's get going. Let's do it.
XKR, because the Aston V8 Vantage, there's the R version of that, isn't there, to race with? So maybe they've done.
Yeah, I don't remember the last racing Jaguar that I remember.
And you missed us moaning about how Lewis Hamilton and all these people are telling us how to live our lives while going to places like China, Russia, Bahrain, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and other places where they're murdering people for their race, and they've got slavery. We had a bit of a moan about that.
And climate change. He's very into climate change, despite the fact he's got a private jet and races a car for a living.
I thought he got rid of his private jet.
Has he? Right, okay. Well,
his dogs died. His dogs died. He's had 2 dogs.
I'm sorry his dog died.
One of his doggy died. Yes.
He's going to be coming out against speeding next, isn't he? How speeding is dangerous. That could be the next one.
Well, something I've noticed as a thing with Formula One, they keep banning everything. Every time anyone innovates in any way, they ban it. And now the latest thing they're banning is inventing new pit lane equipment. From like November, you've got to, or October, I think it is, they've got to have a full list of all the pit lane equipment, and any changes after December have to be approved. So no innovation is going to be allowed in Formula One whatsoever.
I think we should get a new, rather than Formula Woke, we should get Formula None, where there are no regulations.
Yes, I agree.
There's nothing. It's like the Olympics when they
no
give
restrictions,
whatever drugs they want. Formula None would be there's no rule.
Oh, he's nearly overtook it. He's nearly passed. He's nearly passed. He has done it. Yeah.
He's done it. He's only gone and done it.
He nearly cheated, but no, he didn't. Very
Yeah,
good.
so in Formula None, if the racing team decides they want to save weight by taking the seatbelt out, they should be allowed to do it. They just get Gallipoli and friends now.
I was watching a video with the Red Bull version of the Halo with the screen.
Oh, yes.
And thoroughly disappointed because the big thing about the screen is that it had a screen, and therefore there was nothing in the way to impede your sight, except the ones that they're actually using in IndyCars, designed by Red Bull, have the centre pillar and the screen.
Right. Yeah, well,
So,
don't do that.
I mean, there is an advantage. The Massa's smashed in the face. A-word accident, incident,
Yes,
where that bit of suspension hitting wouldn't have happened. It would have hit the screen. So, okay, fair enough, whatever. But what's the point of having that?
But that's why they wear crash helmets. It hit him in the head. He was fine.
Well, it wasn't really, because it kind of smashed his crash helmet to bits.
But that's what it's for. He wasn't going to use it again. He can buy another one. That's why they wear them. I mean,
yeah, but okay. But the little problem is that in the process of smashing the helmet, his face also got quite damaged.
well, it wasn't that bad damage, was it? I mean, he was racing again later that year. I mean, it's dangerous.
Press crossband.
If we're going to do Formula None, it should be back to the 50s where they don't wear anything and they've got no seatbelts, and if they come off the
Absolutely. And if they want to sit in the fuel tank, just make a sort of aluminium fuel tank and they sit in it. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. The drivers don't have to do it. I mean, it's not going to get prison.
What position did you come in? About not quite halfway up.
I was 12. No, I was at one point. I was down in 15th, and I got past you at Perel. And it's Ronaldo Racing. And I was beginning to get into it.
You get new face.
You're better than David Perel. Is that official?
Well,
virtual David Perel. Better than computer, like in the same way that in the game I played, I was better than virtual Schumacher.
Ah, right. Okay.
Not really better.
But it is good. You've got to get this. This is amazing because it's much more like, the reason why I spun on that first corner was because but I also I changed down coming in one of the corners, and I shouldn't have done. I should have just.
You crashed into somebody. That was the main reason.
I did crash in the higher gear, settled the car.
Yeah, higher gear keeps the car.
I think the fact you crashed into the other car was what unsettled the car.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like if I got hit at the back on the M1 in my car once, and the car's written off, but it wasn't because I changed gear; it's because someone hit the back of the car.
So, if you change gear on the M1 and you accidentally go into first, that would unsettle the car.
It might, but at the same time, if you got hit in the back by a minicab, then that's probably more likely what destroyed the car.
Yeah. You've seen that footage of that truck pushing the car along and it didn't know it's there.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot.
It's just like.
How did I go up here? Playback speed, change car. You can change camera angles. You can do. I'm just trying to
set it up.
Highlight saved. No.
Yeah, this is like having footage of the garage, isn't it?
Oh, an error has occurred. So
right, you need. This is the Car Sim and Race Driver Show. You need to tell everyone what this game is, why it's so special, how much it costs, how they can get it, and why it's better than Gran Sport Turismo, whatever it is, Gran Turismo Sport.
It was $34.99. I got it from Amazon, and everyone's been raging about it because it's never been on console before. It's been available on PC, but the original game, Assetto Corsa, has lots of different types of cars on it. This is only this is kind of the official game for the GT Blancpain Championship. So all the kind of GT3 cars, you get all the up-to-date drivers, and you can pretty much jump in and drive. The good thing is there's not a huge downloadable content on it. So in terms of to get it set up, it was about, I think, was it 9.5 gigabytes. So it didn't take very long to upload it, just about 10 minutes. And then that's you ready to go. Other than setting up a few different things, if you've got a steering wheel and pedals, it's brilliant. It's great fun, and it really works. And there's lots of different, you can do all the races that are on the calendar. You could be any different driver. And then, of course, it's got a very good multiplayer. And the crucial thing about multiplayer on this is that they'll probably be doing a lot more, international virtual races, and they use a set of course a competition as the main game. So if you want to practice on this, then it will help you for being able to maybe take part in other races and other championships that come along with the new virtual series and things like that. And it's just really good. It's much more. I mean, like they've got like Silverstone, Great Britain, on a wet track. I mean, that would be something else, you know.
Has Silverstone ever been seen in the dry? I'm not sure. It's basically is a wet.
I saw it in the dry once.
Did you?
Yeah.
76? 76?
No, it's when the Schumacher crashed.
When
It still slid off and smashed into something, but that was for another reason. But it was dry. I remember.
It was in the dry, wasn't in the wet. He must have changed gear.
The funny thing is,
his brakes went bang.
You've got a public multiplayer that I think can be back on, and they will allow you to play. But if you want the competition server, you've actually got to be pretty good. So you've got to increase your sports.
You can't just go in and go.
So I don't know how
like super license points.
Yeah, well, that looks good to me. I think you're pretty good.
But so yeah, I think I can go on like the quick join one and try that. I think there's 150 servers, only 124 players to be fair.
So is that cheaper than doing the real thing in real life?
By quite a bit.
That's £34.99, and what would the budget be for the real one?
Probably £500,000 or £1 million.
A bit cheaper. If someone's thinking about the real thing or the sim, basically the cost is a lot less. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Okay. And but it is really good. It's really involving. And it's great fun, and obviously you can do lots of practice. You can try different cars. You try something all from the GT3 Championship.
He's getting some information for us. Here comes information. Stand by for information.
So, but I have to say it's great fun, and then obviously you can do quick race modes. You can. They put me down as a blooming beginner, the buggers. But
well, so, according to Google. In 2018, right? So the end of 2018, they reckoned you could buy a racing GT3 racing sports car for $500,000.
Right.
That's just buying the car. And then I suppose you've got to add a few bits like tyres.
You need some petrol. Does that come with tyres?
I think there must be some tyres on it.
Has it got full service history on that? So
I would imagine it's brand new.
That's brand new, right? Yes. Okay.
You would probably have to have a spannerator.
A spannerator, yeah.
A spannerator.
Can you get a CP deal on that? Would that come in at about $4.99 a month for that? Or?
I would imagine it would probably come at £5.67p 2 and 3pence.
Well, I think when I spoke to David Correll before, you can buy yourself a seat. Like you can if you've got a bit of money. You can. Yeah. Certain teams will let you race.
Well, with Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi in the F1 grid, Sherlock. Considering Nicholas Latifi's dad now owns 10% of McLaren, and Lance Stroll's dad owns an entire team.
Yeah,
this is why we need Formula None, and then Formula Woke will die on the vine. Because no one wants to watch all these kids. You want to watch the rich kids get killed and just explode in the most extraordinary way.
Exactly. Just see a billionaire's son destroyed.
That's right. Lance Stroll was vaporized today when his
billionaires. This is like two broke girls, but not as good. Because one of them is a billionaire's daughter that loses all the money and then becomes the waitress. It's really good. I like it. So can you just imagine the equivalent of the.
So how much is buying the seat cost then, Hugh? When you say you don't just get the seat?
Oh yeah,
it's probably into the tens of thousands. I would have thought, because similarly, I mean, for example, if you a few years ago you could have bought yourself into touring cars for if you wanted to race like
in a radical SR3, tens of thousands.
Oh no, I mean,
pay a bit more on that in proper racing.
That's depending on the type of championship that you enter. But if it's like, for example, British touring cars, you could actually race at the time for MG, and it was only about £6,000.
As long as you were Chinese.
That,
Sorry, it's £6,000 to have a seat in the British Touring Car Championship for a year.
no, that's just for a day. That was for a day.
But what a day!
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
that'd be quite good fun because you could, as long as you got the rights to the accident you caused, that would be on clips for years to come. You just take out the entire field. And you just smash up an MGZS or something anyway, don't you? So, I mean, it was wrecked anyway.
They've got the worst track here ever, which is Paul Ricard, the new one. On this one, you know, we normally in Formula 1.
Yes, the most boring track in the world.
And all it is these horrendous blue and red lines everywhere. Blue and black, so you don't know where the corners are. It's kind of, it's a kind of...
Look, there's a lot of advantages to Paul Ricard. You know where you can get some decent baguettes and some milk and cheese. Because
boulangerie.
Well, it's there, isn't it? It's a supermarket car park, as we all know.
Oh, is that the right? Yes, yeah. In fact,
le hypermarket, it's a Carrefour.
Oh, you've got
and the blue bit to where they put the trolleys, where there's no race on. Is that what it is? At the trolley park.
Yeah. Ouais. And when they do the Paul Ricard this year, no, they will do the two races and they move the trolleys with the people to make a new track. No.
Le chicane est le nouveau circuit.
Nouvelle chicane.
Oui.
English cheese.
La plage. J'habite à La Rochelle.
That's the American one, isn't it? What's the French one?
J'aime la musique.
The thing is, on this one, unlike other games, you have to have, you know, like things like Gran Turismo, you can have like brake markers. You can also have...
I think, Hugh, you don't drink very much. You should get a couple of beers, don't you? And do
Definitely should get some. That would make it more entertaining.
What you can't do in the Blancpain Championship is drive while 3 times the limit. So really, during times of lockdown,
do you think it might improve things?
I agree. I completely agree with John. This is an opportunity to do things no one ever does.
It is. Probably the reason it was never done.
But we just cocaine.
What we do is the next Formula race or whatever it is, they should all have to take alcohol. So they're exactly twice the legal limit, and then just go, and that's it.
Besides, it's only fair. I've made a fool of myself with alcohol on this show. Now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They've actually got, well, would you believe it, today I don't normally have any drink at all.
No, I wouldn't.
But they have, Yvonne got us this thing. What's the cheap name for champagne? You know,
Moët Chandon?
No.
Pick one.
It's like
Pomade. There's pomade.
Something you get in B&M.
Carver.
B&M. Screen wash.
It's almost like
is that fizzy?
Chateau
Carver is the Spanish version. Okay, Lambrusco, Lambrini.
Like something fizzy. It's like not Bucks Fizz, but it's like maybe it was some kind of. But it is got alcohol. 4% alcohol.
A Perry.
Oh, I need to get a
Baby Sham.
Probably similar to something like that.
Baby Sham. Did you say? You want a Baby Sham?
Bucks Fizz. That's what it was.
That's not that's champagne and orange mixed.
That's what it was. So I did actually.
Troglodytes.
I did have one of those, and I never know. It was so bitter, it was horrible.
What are you drinking? Poof stuff like that for? It's got to be single malt, and it's got to just dissolve your insides, and it's no good.
So
I haven't that, but only literally a mouthful.
Even if you started drinking during lockdown, we are in danger now. That's if you're drinking Bucks Fizz, really the drink of hen nights alongside prosecco.
I mean, really, when I found out that one of my wife's favourite drinks was Lambrusco, I should have really known and just ran then. But you know, I was stupid. Still am, really. Duh.
So this is
that wine that's sort of 7% alcohol.
Yeah, it's like £3 for a litre bottle.
It is actually cheaper than screen wash because it's probably good down here at -5. It's got to be right.
It is actually cheaper. I mean, it's like when people buy. I don't understand why people buy teachers or bells, because if they want antifreeze or White Spirit, it's cheaper in B&Q.
Yeah, you can just buy it, and also you can use it to do your paintbrushes. If you're doing some gloss painting, then it'll clean your brushes, and also you can have a little nip at the end of the day.
Well, no, don't. Oh, you mean the White Spirit? Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
A second there.
Yeah, no, there's no problem.
You don't want to kill yourself.
I think we're racing again here.
Oh, he's off, is he? Oh,
he's going to the right.
Way.
He's at the Red Bull Ring.
Not Kill? That's not Kill, isn't it?
No, I'm at Brands Hatch. The big sign.
Oh, Brands on. Oh, yeah.
That's a bit wide. Not sure about that line. Here we come.
You know, you get early apex, you get late apex, but that was a no apex.
This is a good time for Knock Hill.
Do you know what I'd like to see? And I doubt if they do it on this. Him doing truck racing on this.
Truck racing? If you had a crash, you just go through the entire grandstand.
Well, that's what Barry Sheen did after he retired from motorcycle racing, wasn't it?
Now, I have made it slightly easier, and I'm amazed, actually.
You cheated.
In cheat mode.
You can only turn it down a few points, but obviously they're now not anywhere near as good. But
oh dear, well recovered. He's coming into Duffer's Dip now at Knock Hill. Just missed the apex, but he's recovered well. He's braking. He's turning left. He's accelerating again. He's still accelerating. Still accelerating. He's going to brake soon. He's braking. He's turning right.
Into thingy.
He's accelerating. He's accelerating. He's turning slightly right. He's accelerating. He's changed gear.
That previous corner, or the last two corners, my favourite thing about that is watching. Oh, it might be this corner actually. No, it's this corner. Is back in the day watching the old 500s with Barry Sheen on it, going around there at a 60-degree angle. And you're thinking,
that's physics at work. Centrifugal, centripetal force.
oh!
Lucky it's dry there, Hugh, on the grass. Got away with it.
it's really reactive. It's quite hard to.
He's like a metropolitan policeman driving away from the scene of the crime. I've never seen the police move so fast in the wrong direction. He's turning right.
So, John, while we're watching Jeremy Clarkson here,
yes,
and Captain Slow and all that kind of stuff online, what have you been up to? What's been happening? You got anything interesting to?
Yeah, I've been around and about a bit, down to London, up to Edinburgh.
Oh, of course, you're unlocked down now. You don't have to become like.
I have got the cheat code of life because I can go where I like. Great.
I was kind of hoping it's because you'd become the chief advisor to the Tory party and you could just go anywhere. Which I'm sure one of the best things I've heard in a long time is I wanted to test my eyesight by loading the car with a family and driving to the end of the country.
It's good, isn't it? It's very good. In fact, I bought some Brewdog beer called the Barnard Castle Eye Test. It is. So they ran out on the first.
Oh, that was good.
And all the profits go to make hand job for the NHS.
I presume this is a method they could start using in the airplane industry. You know, in your profession.
Yeah, absolutely.
Test. How's your eyes? Are you colourblind? How's your reactions? Let's give you a load of drink, put you in an airplane filled with people, and fly to Tenerife. If you're still alive at the end of it.
How many runways can you see? Are we going to land on the one on the left or the one on the right? I mean, then you've got difficulties like Heathrow where there are 2 runways. So you might see 4 if you're cross-eyed or something. So, yeah, not recommended. No.
It reminds me of the very first episode of Cabin Pressure where, you know, at the beginning they have a bit of a cabin address thing in every episode. And he is saying, the captain had been playing a game called How Many Whiskies Can We Have and Still Fly? One of these 2 runways, we'll be landing just as soon as I decide which one of these 2 runways to aim for. Geronimo! And there's the other one where he goes, Benedict Cumberbatch Martin lands the plane really badly, just like 4 goes and then slams it down. And he goes, a firm landing is a safe landing, because if that happened any further, we'd all be dead. And then Douglas says, well, you know what they say, a good landing is one you can walk away from. A great landing is one where you can use the plane afterwards.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I've used all these excuses over the years. Yeah.
Basically everything I know about flying to get off that show.
We call it a Boeing landing, is when you slam it off.
A Boeing landing.
A Boeing landing, yeah.
Why is that? Is there a reason?
Well, because the manufacturers don't recommend that you float them down the runway to make it smooth. They recommend that you plonk it on. Because
really? Oh, he was right. Oh, he says you hit it firm down.
Well, he's not wrong. Yeah, because the runway behind you isn't a lot of use. So you want to get the wheels on the tarmac so you can put the brakes on.
Oh, so it's like get contact as soon as possible.
Yeah.
None of it comes like slowly. So we can't space shuttle like you're at Canaveral or wherever they get their land.
Yeah. Also, if you're too smooth with the aeroplane, the air ground sensor doesn't always register that you've landed. So what you need is, it does eventually.
So the technology doesn't recognise you're on the ground if you're too gentle with it.
But
it's like they're coming at banging a dial, isn't it?
It's got the wheels have to spin up to a certain speed, but also the compression register that it's on the ground. So if you're just floating along, the wheel can spin up, but you haven't actually compressed the gear, so it doesn't know it's on the ground. Unless it thinks it's on the ground, the ground spoilers won't come up. So in a way, you're better just to get it on. Then the airplane is sure where it is.
Oh, good. We have landed.
It's fine. It's not a problem at Heathrow or something, but if you're at Aberdeen on a wet night where the runway is 5,000 feet long and the aeroplane takes 2,000 feet to decide whether it's on the ground or not, all of a sudden the red lights at the end of the runway seem quite close. Yeah.
There's that amazing runway in Nepal, isn't there? Is it in Nepal? The one that's like up a mountain and then the end of it's the mountain.
That's
right. That just looks. Because if you're landing, you've got a huge mountain in the way, and if you're taking off, you've got a huge lack of mountain in the way.
Yeah, that's better.
By the way, you really got to be doing something.
You do, but lack of mountains in front of you is generally better than mountains in front of you with aeroplanes. You don't want to see mountains.
Well, it worked for James Bond, didn't it?
That runway actually has a corner in it as well.
What?
It has a corner in it.
What?
Yeah, it has the corner right at the beginning. So on the slow part, when you're accelerating, you have to turn right.
So it's like powering out of the corner. So just like he's about to now, powering out of that corner.
You have to steer the aeroplane onto the main bit of runway. It's only the end bit which has a corner in it, but it's quite a significant corner, maybe 20 degrees. So you have to take the turn as you're accelerating. But at relatively low speed, you can turn quite easily on the aeroplane. So
wow. We have been joined by Brian J. Holmes, who says, "Evening, guys." Hello, Brian J. Holmes. Nice to see
Brian
you.
Was a lovely chap. Brian was the chap who helped me get my G29 wheel working again. Because
he gave you the parts.
Yeah, he gave me the power thing because I nearly blew myself up with the old one.
Well, as you can see, Brian, it's working fine. As basically, Ru and I are having a nice chat while Hugh plays video games.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Cheers, mate. You lovely bloke.
It was an interest to the show.
This reminds me of my son that likes to have people watch him play games. So I used to have to sit in his bedroom and watch him play on his Xbox.
The trouble is with this is it's not like a first action shooter. I can't see Hugh get attacked. It's just a track going by. It might as well be watching the M6.
Yes. What's that? Do you remember that years ago they had that? On a steam train. And is it London to Brighton on the steam train?
Oh, and it's speeded up or something.
Yeah, black and white. Well, it's like that. But,
yeah. Hugh, this isn't very interesting.
This is not a prepubescent YouTube channel.
It was better when you were racing. We could have a lot.
Sarah Silverman has got Call of Duty on Twitch, and she's more interested than this. And all she does, well, actually, she's quite interested because she swears a lot. Did you win? Well, that's because we weren't putting you off. I suppose we should have been, but we just. I was learning about.
I'm not sure
This will be
racing.
the last lap, I think. Well,
I'm not sure this is the best kind of entertainment, Hugh, if I'm honest, for the listeners.
We've been on here for 50 minutes.
He's just been playing.
Any more F1 news? Let's talk about. While he's doing that. Yeah, but it's like how can I put it? It's like cricket. Maybe not cricket, because I don't mind if you took some beers along, you had a nice day out, live cricket. Watching it on telly is possibly the most boring thing after football. I wouldn't mind playing it, whacking the ball around, even
sitting in the sun, having drinks,
with a few
having
pals,
having lunch, having all that.
Not.
There we go. We won.
Very well done.
That was fascinating.
Anyway, so as everything, absolutely everything, Hollywood, Formula One, everything, the BBC, ITV, even ITV, you've got that Susanna Reid and Piers Morgan talking Cosmo. Well, no, that's yours to do anyway.
There you go.
What's going to happen, in my opinion, is the whole world is going to end and implode because of the most ridiculously stupid. I mean, the whole of the Hollywood film industry is going to die because all the films that have come out are all trying to teach us something.
Yeah.
It's like public service announcements for morons. I was watching this mad Scottish guy called the Critical Drinker. If you ever want to look him up on YouTube. He has two characters. His real name's something Coleman, and he actually writes books and he does reviews of films. And then he pretends to be drunk, or maybe he is drunk, and he does comedy reviews of films. And he has a particular opinion of these woke films, like the one I was looking at earlier. Yeah. And I didn't agree with everything he said. The one I was looking at earlier was the new remake film with Elizabeth Banks of Charlie's Angels, which lost hundreds of millions of pounds. Now, I really liked Elizabeth Banks from Pitch Perfect and Miri and Zach Make a Porno, which is funny. There's some funny films she's in, but she's turned into a feminist warrior now. And she even went on Instagram. I ditched her on Instagram because even on Instagram she said, if men don't watch this film, it's because they're sexist.
Oh right.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's before it even came out.
And then nobody watched it anyway.
And then nobody watched it because it was
terrible.
But it was
only because you're sexist, you think that, clearly.
Yeah, got all emotional blackmail, eh? So
violence is violence.
Same's happening. Instead of dealing with real issues and having everyone just be decent people and getting on, they're trying to teach us how awful we are. For being alive and breathing. I'm so sorry that the accident of my birth isn't racially and sexually acceptable, but apparently that isn't racism or sexism at all, and me saying that is really sexist.
I think it's pretty terrible that you were born Caucasian in a Caucasian country.
Oh, the lack of melanin in my skin by being born where I am.
I think being born in Northern Europe with white skin is just not acceptable.
I must be a Nazi because I was accidentally born into a working class family with no money.
And white and male. So I mean, yeah.
And having spent a lifetime trying to be kind to people and treating people decently, definitely sexist.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Going back to my wonderful racing there.
Sorry, we saw something going on with you. What was that?
that was the podium finish, but it didn't look very happy.
Were you in? I'm sorry, were you in the V10 version?
You came 12th.
Because if you were,
that was the previous race. The second.
Yeah, when you had then you turned it down to basically retard level. All the drivers have Down syndrome when they were driving into the walls.
I knew something bad would come from us watching those virtual races. You saw them all cutting the corners, and you saw George Russell smashing people off the track, and you thought, well, if it works for them, it works for me.
I didn't cut any corners. I was quite good. I was quite reasonable on that one.
Yeah, the one you lost.
You've only got 20 points that you can turn it down on. You can put the regression down because normally. Yeah, I thought it could go down to 100 or 0 to 0. But that's when you're racing against a Motability scooter. You know, but
you were racing against Motability scooters. Over 80-year-olds on Motability scooters, and then you won.
Oh, do you know those blue things, the two-stroke engine in the front, look like a really bad version of a Robin Reliant. How can you make a Robin Reliant? Yeah. How can you make a Robin Reliant worse? But they managed it. And they put some poor sod in it that's already injured or disabled, and they want to try and kill him in that.
Now they get a BMW X5.
I'd rather have the blue thing, to be honest.
But yeah, so what do you think? I'll say though, that game is good, and we are part of the Car 7 Race Driver Show after all, so it's quite good to have some
yes.
Now I will try and figure out the way to get it to stream, so I can actually do a live stream properly from the PlayStation. And I'll put the games that I'll be playing on that, things like Gran Turismo, and also I thought maybe Formula 1 and a set of course of competition. But the thing is, you can't just do normal races. You've got to actually be quite good before they let you do it. So you've got to get up to standard. So we'll wait and see how you get on, John.
I think I would probably be more entertaining, put it that way. The language would be a bit fruity, and I'd be just ramming people.
Well, the thing is,
wacky races. You could do an Assetto Corsa version of wacky races. Can you get any dragons sticking out of the top of the cars? Because that's right. Professor Thingamajig, he was good.
Motley and Arthurly racing around with knives on the wheels.
Get two people from Norfolk, and they can be the Cavemen Brothers.
The Cavemen Brothers.
You know, there were two cavemen, and they were in a cavemen car, like the Flintstones, in the wacky races.
Is that there's a lot of caves in Norfolk? Is that?
Come on, it's Norfolk. Inbreeding.
I don't think they have cars up there, do they?
No, you've got like horses. You've got like ponies and little things like that.
He is from Norfolk, isn't he? Gosh.
Yeah, but I think.
Yes, but he's all right.
Is Lando Norris? I think Lando Norris is also from thereabouts. I think he was
Bristol.
They make Lotuses there as well.
Norfolk, also known as Bristol.
Now, have you seen the latest picture? Now, there's two pictures in there, John, but what have you seen? One of the other ones I've just put up.
Is that Putin?
No.
Trump and Putin.
No, it's not.
Is it the
good guess?
Is it Vera Duckworth and Alf Garnett?
Well, up one.
Is that the leader of Saudi Arabia? What do they call him?
Shake, rattle and roll.
Think motorsport.
Shake, rattle and roll.
Oh, it's Jimmy Clark, isn't it?
It's Jimmy Clark and Ayrton Senna. It was
did they ever
I'm
meet?
sorry, I couldn't help myself. I had to say the right answer. It's compulsion.
But there you have it. Yeah, so that's one of the new ones that I just got.
Were they together? Did they ever meet?
No, no, they didn't. It's in black and white.
Were they alive at the same time? They might have been.
No, he
died. He died in 1967.
Well, I mean, 68. So Ayrton Senna would have been 8 years old. So probably would have been go-karting.
Yeah, they could have met him. They could be there.
But he would have heard of him. He would have heard of him.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, definitely.
Definitely would have
well, Senna, Jim Clark was Senna's hero. That's why he came to Duns, to go to the Jim Clark room way back in 1991 and 92.
Well, they're both very good.
Yeah. Well, they were both legends at the end of the day. But that is, of course, the title. Now, we are currently sitting at 45 subscribers, so it's definitely going
You might have gone down a bit, this podcast.
Yeah, probably.
You're down at 35 now.
Maybe I should check. But
well, poor old Brian's dropped dead. He hasn't said anything since he said good evening.
But yeah, so that was the thing. So when we get to 1,000, we are going to be right there. And maybe perhaps when I start streaming my games, people will be actually interested. And there'll be one thing is I'm sure we'll keep them.
Well, I think you need to race a bit. If you're just at the front, you might as well be going down the M6.
Oh, no,
maybe you can go down the M6.
I won't be.
Maybe that will allow you to go down the M6, and you can. Oh, I got a much better idea. Never mind that rubbish thing. What's that game I like? Burnout. Paradise City. That's where you are smashing into things, and also it's like Death Race, but with slow-mos. No, that'd be ace. You play that.
Why don't you do Grand Theft Auto? Then you can sort of run over prostitutes.
That kind of thing without any shooting. There's no shooting involved. It's just the driving. Yeah. I actually quite enjoyed watching that when a mate of mine played it on his Xbox. Wouldn't let me play. We've
got an extra subscriber. We have got 46.
Ofcom.
And that
it's Susanna Reed. Who's
decided following now. That's it. You've been cancelled.
We've got
up one. I told you the gaming thing would work.
Woke guided missile heading for each one of our homes.
Well, let's hope it's a drone,
Well, she does tend to.
But yeah. And of course, we haven't even talked about,
I just want to check.
we haven't even talked about the start of Formula One, which is Austria. Just a week on
You've been racing your car for the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. If I'd have remembered, if I'd been able to remember that Formula One was starting in the middle of watching your FSO Polonaise lose, if you'd had an FSO Polonaise, right, you would have done better because there were really good bumpers on them to push people out of the way. So, what's his name? Gunter Steiner, who we love, stop fighting, has said it would be really good having 2 races in Italy to have like a reverse something, and then we could try reverse grids. Of course he would.
Yeah.
I just...
He'd be on pole position for the second race. Yeah. He'd be behind the Williams.
Williams are going to beat them this year.
Yeah.
They have got a good car this year. Honestly, it's a much better chassis, and they've got thingy.
Who have they sold it to? Williams?
Well, they're trying to sell it, and Nick Latifi's dad's got 10% of it, is it? Or is it McLaren who's got 10% of it? No, he's got 10% of McLaren, but he is interested in possibly buying some more. There is a rumour, which may mean it's rubbish because it's a rumour and you're not going to like it.
So, who do you think might have a good chance of winning a week on Sunday?
Well, you've got to fancy Verstappen because he's up his own arse and thinks he's going to win again. I think Lewis Hamilton, because their car is so much better. They've got the DAS, and they've sorted out the cooling for the engine, which is what they had a problem with last 2 times. They have sorted it out.
Have they?
So,
Verstappen's won the last 2 races there. But there's 2 races, of course, coming up. So it's going to be one after the other, back to back, which is great. I think Vettel, I just think he might just pull it off. He might just manage it, And if there's any coming togethers with Hamilton and Verstappen, I just wonder whether he might take another title. I just have a feeling he might just manage it.
I think it would be a major mistake to discount Ferrari because they've had time to work out what wasn't so good about their car, as they all have. They've all got upgrades coming from the testing they did and the time they've had in the factory. So that's why we're doing that. And I think they'll be, with all this talk about them being the 3rd team now, I wonder, it's a mistake to just discount Ferrari. I think Matteo Binotto is a canny lad. I don't think it's as stupid as some of the other ones, like Arriva Bene. Arriva Bene was just a Burke.
I'm not sure if they would sandbag so much, but I do think Ferrari they weren't too far away last year. It was only a little bit. And in some cases, they were actually ahead, but they made poor strategy decisions. And that's what lost them a number of races.
And also their 2 drivers very helpfully smashed into each other or anybody else that was around.
Yeah. But you see, they're all still saying that Leclerc is the next big thing, in terms of, very, very good. And I do think he is good, but I'm not sure if he's as good as Verstappen.
One of the polls was to ask him whether he's the next Schumacher. They always want to know, is he the next Schumacher? Like Schumacher is the next Prost. And, no, he's not. He's good, he's fast, but he's not Schumacher. Schumacher had a very specific set of attitudes, focus and talents to go along with the fact that he was fast and consistent.
Yeah.
In terms of pulling a team together. And the question that was being asked was, will Charles Leclerc pull the team together like Schumacher did? Not a chance, no. Schumacher came into the sport and within half a year was in a top team. He came into Jordan and was doing ridiculous things in that car other people couldn't do. And he had the nous to pull a bunch of people together that made an amazing team. And then when he moved to Ferrari, he did the same again. Now, he wasn't the whole story. People at the time were talking about how he brought the team around him. He did in his capacity as the main driver and the focus of attention, but he brought people into it. Now, Jean Todt, he had Ross Brawn, he had Rory Byrne, and he cemented the team with them. Charles Leclerc is a kid that's been employed by Ferrari to drive fast. That's it. He's not the
I think
maker of
the
it.
great drivers were the ones that sort of had to fight a bit on the way through. Sort of, they maybe didn't come from money. They had to fight. They had to bring people together, persuade people to work with them, bring teams together. And I do think that the kids like Leclerc, as I said, he's probably fast in his own right, but to be that kind of amazing character that can inspire people to invest in you, to allow you to drive their cars when you're some kid from an estate in Germany or wherever Schumacher came from. I think it does take someone a bit more special to be that kind of driver. That's just
Absolutely.
my
Completely
bit.
agree with you. I mean, look at Senna, the force of will and character of that guy, and even he lost teams because they couldn't cope with him. He didn't bring teams together. He demanded stuff of them. He was an incredibly strong character, and his talent as a driver helped immensely. I mean, you didn't just discount the guy. But how many more championships would he have in the same way? Like Alonso, how many more championships would he have if he was the kind of person that didn't divide the team, brought them together instead?
I mean, that's one of the big questions. Although Senna had the terrible start, and obviously that never made it through the '94 season. But if he had, he was in pole position at Imola, and was in the lead at the time. And I don't know whether he would have won that race because Schumacher was very close behind him. But maybe if it had good reliability and kept it, it would have been probably a very close season. And you kind of wonder, eventually, maybe as Senna got used to that car, would he have been able to make more of it and maybe battle for the championship and eventually win it? And you've got to think as well, where would he have gone after Williams? Would he have stayed there a year or two, or would he have gone on somewhere else? There was always rumours that when he redid his contracts, he would send a copy of his contract to Ferrari and say, that's who I've signed with this time. But, that will eventually, I mean, could you imagine a character like Ayrton Senna driving at Ferrari would have been in the 90s? It would have been quite...
It would have been amazing, but he wouldn't have won any more championships with them. The only reason why Ferrari was so dominant is because Schumacher went there and the whole team changed. They hadn't won a race since 79. Stupid like that.
And championship,
there was an immediate change as soon as Schumacher and Ross Brawn went there. Immediate change. He was able to drive. I mean, Senna would have made a lot out of the car because he was another one of these amazing drivers that could outperform the car. He could get more out of the car. He flattered the car, didn't he? Whereas it's like my understanding of Lewis Hamilton compared with Jenson Button. Jenson Button, brilliant strategist, really looked after the tyres, and I think Lewis learned an enormous amount from the guy when he was in McLaren with him. But when the car was perfect and set up brilliantly for Jenson Button, he was as fast as Lewis. When the car wasn't so good, Lewis was off into the distance because he could drive around the problems. And that was a Schumacher trait as well. It was a Senna trait. It was a Jackie Stewart trait. The ones that could alter their style, alter their driving to fit what they had, the machinery they had. Mansell, for example, he just bludgeoned the car into submission, didn't he? He's kind of like...
But he was great to watch, though. Great, I mean, phenomenal to watch. Whenever he had a chance.
Similar sort of thing, but with a slightly different angle on how he did it. It wasn't finesse so much as just sheer brute force.
I think that what was the first race? Was it Brazil or somewhere? Or Mexico? It was one of the first races that Mansell raced for Ferrari. And nobody expected them. Nobody even expected the car to finish. Even the first few laps, it was that unreliable. I don't think they had a terrible testing type before the championship started. And he ended up. I don't know if he got pole position, but he got a reasonable bit on the grid, and he won the race. It was I think the first race when they had semi-automatic gearboxes at Ferrari.
Oh, okay.
They brought that out, and he won it. And I don't think he ever won a race. I think the only other race he won was Hungary that year. I think it was either 1989, I think it was. And that was the year because the McLarens were incredibly strong. But on his first race for Ferrari, he won. So of course that set the Tifosi absolutely crazy, and that's why they called him the Il Leone, which was the lion. And
that's a fair description. I mean, going back to the Schumacher Senna, the year that he died. I don't know very much about Ayrton Senna, really. I've picked up a lot of stuff over the years, but I've not studied him or Prost particularly well. But for sure, to use the F1 term, Schumacher would not be a 7-time world champion if Senna had not died that year. Not a chance. I mean, Senna would have gotten at least one more championship, at least one more, and Schumacher would not have got.
Seven. Yeah,
he would have got a number. It might have been 4. It might have been 5. Who knows? But he wouldn't have got 7 because he.
So you saw Schumacher messing around with the steering on the Williams the night before the race, did you? He was in there with a...
No, but I've seen all the documentaries, and the documentaries all talk about how worried Senna was about Schumacher and how...
with the traction control issue. That was
well, no, just the word, the fact that this fast kid was up his back end, you know. So he was pushing on those outlaps. I mean, some of the theories are that the tyres went up to temperature and it bottomed out on the fast corners and stuff like this. No, you know the ones I mean. The theories. But he was definitely trying to do what he always did, which is stamp his authority on the race, and he was doing that by going really, really fast. So it makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, no, he wouldn't have taken risks." Ridiculous. All F1 drivers, all fast F1 drivers, the whole point of that sport, the whole game, is that you are on the edge every lap, every corner. You're going as fast as you possibly can. That is actually the point. That's what people don't get. Going 90% of the full speed of the car is relatively easy. It's getting that last few hundredths of a second. You know?
And remember, Senna had got 3 pole positions in that year.
Okay.
Brazil and Japan and Imola, he was on pole position. And to get out of a car that was really dodgy to drive was something else, you know. So it showed you just how good he was at driving around, taking problems and being able to do it, you know.
Real talent. And you could see that in those famous races where he's driving a bit like a Verstappen in Brazil that year, driving around people in the wet in a bad car. Like they're standing still, and everyone's sort of looking at it and going, "What? Has he got different tyres on? Is he sort of maglev? What? What is this?"
And that amazing race that we saw at Donington in 1993, which was, you know, he started off 5th, he was down to 7th by the first corner, and then he was up to 1st by the end of the first lap.
That was a wet race. Was that?
It was dry at the time, but it was wet and dry the whole time. It had damp patches all over the place. And the weather changed right the way through the race. But where we saw, we were at the old hairpin. I think it was the old hairpin or the loop, the Donington loop, at the chicane. And he had just overtaken Damon Hill, and he was catching up to Prost. And then we saw him go down into the distance. And as he went round the hairpin, he went past Prost. So he came back up and he was in the lead of the race. And the crowd just went crazy because they'd just driven past everybody. And then we knew we were in for a special race. When it was going to be like that. And we saw Schumacher actually go off at the chicane that we were at. He went off into the gravel, and that was him out of the race. So it was a very tricky piece of track there.
Brundle said about his ability in the wet is he just seemed to know where the grip was. He had this kind of sixth sense of knowing where the grip on the track would be. And he went there. And so there was grip.
It was unfortunate because of the weather and the things at the time that they didn't allow you to go into the track, unlike they did at Silverstone. Because I think if we had been able to, you know, we weren't that far away from the last corner, we were just kind of across. And if they'd allowed us onto the track, we could have run round and we could have seen the podium. And that would have been a very special podium, seeing Senna win, because I think it was Tom Wheatcroft who owned the track at that time. He was giving the presentations. So that would have been a really fantastic witness to see, you know, a very special occasion indeed. You know, we'd been there 2 weeks before, been at the Jim Russell School of Racing for my motor racing day, which I got for £99 all those years ago, and it allowed me to drive a Vauxhall Lotus, a Vauxhall Astra GTE, and a go-kart and a few other bits and pieces.
Engine in that thing.
But they were
Cosworth engine in those.
Yeah, but
people know that Cosworth is on the engine in the 2-litre GTE 16 now.
Well, they were just doing the track up. They were putting all the Formula One signs up. All the big sponsorships were going up. I can't remember who that was. A famous sponsor that sponsored the European Grand Prix. I'm trying to remember what it was. It wasn't Shell. It was not one of the Australian drinks companies, I think. Or one of the ones. It was maybe Labatt. It was one of these big ones. I remember it because they were putting up all the things.
Today, I took my camera down. I took a whole roll of film. It's kicking around somewhere.
We need to get that.
And Aaron Prost all come out that chicane.
Oh, we must see that.
have to
We
dig
must
them out.
get our Top Gear videos as well, because the guy that I know
I
is
think
cameraman.
with the video as well. Did my dad take his
I
video?
think he did. I mean, that would be amazing. For you.
Yeah, the video will all be there somewhere. We can probably
Yeah.
dig it out at some point.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Because it was when you see it on a little camera, or camera at the time that's not a TV camera, it's even more individual. It's even more kind of potent and emotional, because it's like you were there and it's part of your history, So that would be the thing. But I think we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. You've watched me race while the other two talked about planes, and it's been
anything apart from.
But I will thank all my viewers, all the listeners, who I'm sure are going to find this enthralling when they listen to the podcast. And it'll be even better than the race at Paul Ricard.
Well, to be fair, it was better than the race at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, I mean, the next time I won't fiddle with the settings, so it'll be much harder. And I'll be laughed probably, but at least we'll have a go at try it. Just on the last point, a Serra Corsa competition does not work well for crashing. If you hit people at all, it tends to throw you off. So it's not like
Well, you did.
Yes. Well, it was a slight coming together. He just, he came across me a little bit.
He came across.
He came across. Your
Like
nickname,
Lazarov in 1993 all over again.
your new nickname, right, is going to be Rosberg. We'll call you Rosberg.
There will always be
Lewis
stewards
drove into me. Lewis drove into me. I was going straight.
Yeah.
On that note, you've been listening and watching the Car 7 Race Driver Show. Thank you very much for joining with us. And of course, my great co-hosts on the top, it's Andrew Marr.
Oh, me.
And underneath, it is Jonathan Sutherland. Thank you very much for joining with us, and we'll be back on Sunday again for another live show. So have a great weekend, and I'll leave
What
it
are
to
you doing
Jonathan.
then? You're not racing again, are you?
I'll leave it to Jonathan to do our famous quote.
Oh, yes.
Drive fast and try not to crash the car.
Yeah.
Into
Drive
a
fast,
new
don't
car.
crash.
On the
Drive
track.
fast and try not to crash.
Excellent. See you later. Bye for now.
Bye.